going to start. Okay, people, so this evening, I think it's something quite important. We are researchers, and I think at this time you've also realized that the whole exercise of postgrad is research. We've been talking about that a lot. The whole scholarly focus, the whole thing of looking at a situation from an academic perspective, the whole idea of drawing from credible scholarly material and then integrating those scholarly sources into the real life or plausible situation we give you, and then you guys work with that and you provide some interventions, you evaluate, you recommend, you analyze, and so on. So this evening I want to touch a bit just on to show you what's happening in the academic world, and you might be shocked and fall on your backs when you see what's actually going on. I'm gonna ask Brad to share with you 3 documents. The first one, I'm gonna send you 2 academic articles which I want you guys to look at. I'm gonna give you time in the session. We've got enough time, and I want you to rate them. So I'm gonna give you the rubric to write the actual academic articles. I'm just gonna share that quickly. This is what it looks like. So I'm gonna send you this. It's a PDF. You will see the instruction is I'm going to send you 2 articles, Article A and Article B. These articles are from academic journals. And I want you to use this rubric to give a mark for this article from your perspective. So this evening you're sitting a bit on the other side of the fence. You're sitting on a marking side. The title, the abstract, the lit review, the research method, the findings, the conclusions, the overall comprehensiveness, and references, and you're going to give a mark out of 50. That is for each article. I'm going to send you 2 PDF articles. You're going to write both of them. You're not going to submit it. You're not going to type it up. Just do it with a pen and paper or a pencil somewhere. It's just rough work. This is not a heavy, guys. I'm not putting a heavy on you. I want you to just go through these articles and assign a mark, and we're going to discuss that afterwards and then say, well, why do we give the mark we give? The articles that I will be sending are these 2. This is a 2023 article from a journal, and there is a 2022 article, the one I'm sharing now, likewise from a journal. So what I'm going to ask you to do for us now, Brad, is to send these 3 PDFs to the group. I'm going to do my WhatsApp thingy. I'm going to stop sharing here for a minute. So what I'm sending you guys is the rubric, the marking rubric, that you've got an idea what we're going to use to assess them, and then the 2 actual articles. So here they come. Let me just get to the right place. Okay, there's the first one. Brad, there's your rubric. And following will be the actual articles. Article A and Article B.
So I'm going to send 3 documents to the group then, eh?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm going to send you 3 PDFs separately. There comes the second one. Article A and Article B is on its way. There it goes. All right, you can distribute. Thanks a lot. Everything's been sent to you guys. So it's the rubric, just the marking rubric that you could do. Just going to do with rough with a pencil somewhere on the side. There's the Article A and Article B. I'm going to leave this to you now to evaluate them. I'm going to give you enough time. Let's come back here in half an hour. So let's say at 1840, which is 30 minutes from now, that's more than enough time. We're going to come back and discuss the articles. No rush, no hurry. We've got enough time to discuss afterwards. And you guys are welcome to continue. When Kate jumps in, I'll explain the process to her. I might leave and make a cup of coffee. but I'm not far away. I'm going to let the recording run and everything's running here. And that's the story. All clear on the assignment, guys?
Yes, Doc. All clear.
You're good?
100%.
Okay, folks. There we go, guys. We speak now.
Cool, lekker.
All right. Hi, Kate.
Good evening. My apologies.
No worries, no worries. I understand you in traffic. Listen, you will see that there's a rubric that was sent on your group, plus 2 academic articles from journals. I want you guys to just look at those articles, award marks, assess them. We're going to discuss it at 6:40, Kate. So for now, you can look at those articles, Article A and Article B, and evaluate them, give them mark, just with a pencil and a piece of paper. It's nothing you're going to submit. It's not formal. It's just a light exercise. And then we regroup at 6:40.
No problem.
Righty, Kate, speak now. Okay, guys, you must start to wrap up. We're gonna reconvene in about 2 minutes. Okay, folks. So, the purpose of this evening's exercise is to for you guys to get a bit of insight on how to look at academic work. So we know, we've been saying it all along, that it's about academia. Academia is about proper work and resources and academic resources. And we tend to say when you use academic journals and articles that are published in academic journals, you are normally on safe ground, or that would be the normal directive. I want to show you, I don't want to take up too much of your time afterwards. We'll discuss it a bit, but I want to show you in these articles some of the things that I picked up. Now, remember, it's recent articles, it's published in journals. So at surface value, at face value, these articles looks fine. It looks like, oh, wow, it's in an academic journal. It looks very professional. This is something we can use. I want to share my screen on article A. Just confirm if you can see the PDF with the yellow markings, guys. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Maybe going to zoom in a bit. So you must tell me if you've picked up on this. So this article, assessing the effectiveness of marketing strategies in small to medium enterprises in Durban, looks very nice, looks professional. You'll see in the abstract, this is a quantitative study. In other words, it's talking about metrics, the measuring stuff. And they're telling us that it was using an anonymous questionnaire. All right, now if we keep that in mind, and we go down a bit, you'll see they're talking here about the introduction. There's a lit review, lots of references incorporated. All right, they're saying it's a descriptive research design. In other words, descriptive statistics is one form of quantitative analysis, where the other is inferential stats. And then, of course, that is standing against qualitative work. Paradigm or philosophy is positivism. Then they said they used the quantitative survey strategies using a questionnaire on SurveyMonkey. And the link was sent. Then they said the population comprised of 5,000 SMEs, guys, 5,000 SMEs in and around Durban. Now, the first problem here, if you're working around Durban, why would you say that your study, why would you put South Africa in there? All right, Durban, South Africa, 5,000. And then they said a convenience sampling method was used in surveying the selected business owners. They say that a structured questionnaire was sent to managers, marketing managers, product distributors, CEOs, Now, here's the thing. You cannot say that it was an anonymous sample or an anonymous survey if you sent it to people. In other words, you cannot, they're confusing or mixing or blending the sampling here. Now, guys, you will get to know that research methodology is the holy grail of research. When you mess this up, you're getting in trouble. You're getting in dangerous waters. If you say it was an anonymous study, but you say that it was sent to managers, marketing managers, product distributors, you know who these people are. You've got their email addresses. How do you send something to a CEO if you don't have some sort of a contact? So there's a difference between anonymity and confidentiality. And I want you guys to be careful and do some research on that. When is something anonymous and when is it confidential? If you're using a quantitative sample, that means the sample they're telling us is 5,000 SMEs. A quantitative sample, guys, needs to be randomly selected from the population. In other words, that means everyone in the population, every one of these 5,000 SMMEs must stand an equal chance to be drawn into the research sample. Otherwise, it's not a random sample. If my population is 5,000 and I draw a random sample, I must use a sampling system that gives every one of those subjects in the population an equal chance to get into the sample. So they're messing up their sampling technique here by approaching people, by sending stuff to them. They are not using an 100% random sample. So that's something that one should look at. Right now, they're giving us all sorts of metrics here. They're giving us all sorts of figures and numbers. And by the looks of it, the article seems fine. That is a problem. It's something that one should look at. It's something you should keep in mind. That was Article A. There's a flaw in the research methodology. Remember, when articles are sent to journals, they are peer-reviewed and sent back and reviewed before they are ultimately published. Look at Article B. It's coming up here as a share. I'm going to zoom in a bit. The influence of digital transformation on the growth of small and medium enterprises in South Africa. This is actually what I was thinking about. They say the study took place in Natal, KwaZulu-Natal province in South Africa. Why would you then say South Africa? The study did not include South Africa. So why would you use South Africa instead of a regional section, which was KwaZulu-Natal? This was the one I was thinking of. All right, let's continue. A qualitative design, in other words, we know that it's not about numbers and metrics. We know it's all about getting insight and shedding light onto a topic. They're telling us that there was 8 interviews in Durban. And these 8 interviews were conducted in Durban, again with SME owners. All right, we continue. We carry on. There's a literature review. Then this is where things get problematic, folks. In methodology, again, they say that data were collected from the sample population, with the selected sample being representative of the overall population. Guys, can a sample of 8 be representative of the overall population in Durban, KZN? It can't. Can a qualitative sample ever be seen as a representative sample? We cannot. You cannot generalize findings on a qualitative sample to the population. A qualitative study means we're getting input, we're getting insight, we're getting perceptions from stakeholders, giving language to the research phenomenon from their perspectives. It's subjective. We cannot generalize it to a population. Here they tell us that there's 8 SME managers. So 8 SME managers in Durban is not a representative sample. Then they said the study interviewed business managers from 8 SMMEs. In-depth interviews were used, semi-structured interviews, and then they continue to give us some of the results. The study adopted a purposive non-probability sampling technique. Purposive sample is a problem because there's lots of business owners, SMME owners in Durban, KZN. So I would be hard to convince that a purposive sample was the correct one to use instead of a convenience or a snowball sampling method. And now they start doing something which is unconventional. When we do qualitative research, we're not supposed to quantify the data at all. I said here in my comment, this is an example of bad research. Is this authoritative when you give percentages and you count the number of frequencies and you start quantifying qualitative data? It's not. We're not supposed to see percentages and numbers in a qualitative data set. When you include themes in a qualitative study, the number of occurrences or the number of mentions of a particular theme is of no consequence. A researcher should include a theme because they deem it appropriate, not because you cannot rate or weigh or in any way make something about the number of occurrences or that sort of thing. Then they say here, regarding the impact of digital technology, the study identified that technology generates good customer relationships. According to most respondents, 75% with DT, customers no longer have to physically visit their shops. Guys, you cannot make such absolute statements based on an interview with 8 people, which is subjective. If you want to make such absolute bold statements, you need a quantitative sample, you need complicated statistical and mathematical models, you need checks in place like Alpha Cronbachs and that sort of thing to guarantee the validity and the reliability of your statistical and mathematical models before you can make such absolute statements. Again, here's another absolute statement where they say this percentage. The study has identified, look at this one, that most SMEs implemented digital marketing in South Africa. Now they're talking about South Africa again, guys. The study took place with 8 people in Durban. But now they're talking about South Africa and they're talking about 62.5% of South Africa. Guys, that's like asking 5 people, what's your favorite food? And if 3 of the 5 says it's a hamburger, then you say the favorite food in South Africa is hamburgers. Can you guys see how flawed this is? Can you see the flaws in this when it comes down to research methodology? The results from the findings on the extent of implementation. Again, extent assumes a scale. If I say you're talking about the extent of implementation, I'm going to ask you, do you have a scale for measuring that extent? How do you express that extent? And then, of course, these guys make very bold recommendations based on something that they deem as absolute, which in fact it is not. It is merely perceptions. Now, what I want to tell you, and I want to show you, I want to share the next document with you guys. By the looks of it, these articles look legit. They look fine. They look professional. They come from journals. All looks fine and well. But just look at this in the background. They say here, this is a recent article. It's from September last year. The publish or perish mentality is fueling research paper retractions. It means research articles that were retracted subsequently. Now, they're telling us here that published research papers or articles can be retracted if there's an issue with their accuracy or integrity. In 2023, in the academic world, more than 10,000 guys, research articles were retracted globally. This marked a new record. This huge number of retractions indicates that a lot of government research funding is wasted and the publications is flawed. It misleads other researchers and it undermines, very importantly, scientific integrity. Now, this whole phenomenon or trend, which is known in academia as publish or perish, comes down to a monetary motivation. So there's a lot of money in academia. When you publish an article, your institution receives money. The scientist that publishes the article gets money. So like I always say in life, if you want to get behind what's really behind the story, follow the money. You guys have heard that, right? So there's a lot of money in research, there's a lot of money in publication, and there's a lot of pressure on academics to publish. Because if they publish, it puts their own CVs in a better light. You're growing your academic CV by means of publications. It puts your institutional perspective in a better light because there's institutional publications. So there's a lot of merit for publishing. But they say this is a concern. It's a growing trend. And guys, this is now something that we're going to see, especially with AI. So the constant pressure, they say here, to generate and publish may be affecting the quality of research and fueling the retractions of many research papers. Look at this interesting graph. This picture paints 1,000 words. So obviously that's 2023. Look at this. This is on an exponential curve, guys. It's from 2013 to 2023, the 10 years there. And you can see in 2023, there were almost 10,000 retractions of articles that turned out to be false, misleading, not accurate, not integrity, and they retract them. And they say here that this problem is growing at an alarming rate of 23% a year. Then they say here there's an interesting phenomenon where the use of fake peer reviewers has increased tenfold. There's also been an 8-fold rise in the publication of so-called paper mills, which are businesses that provide fake articles, fake academic papers at a fee. I'm going to stop sharing here and show you an article that tells us a bit more about the so-called paper mill businesses. Let me share a window. All right, I believe you guys can see this one. Paper mills. Guys, listen to this, absolutely alarming. Again, this was published in October 2024. It's a very recent article that says paper mills are cartel-like companies who sits behind the fraudulent scientific journals. So what paper mill companies are is companies like mafias that offer authorship service to researchers and academics or students who wants their name listed as an author of a scientific article. They pay anything from 180 to 5,000 euros or up to $5,000 to get these articles published. Again, that gives you an indication of how much money there is behind this whole story. So it is illegal. It is a criminal sort of syndicate operated business. And they are absolutely overwhelming academic journals with this kind of publications. You guys can read this article further. There's the title for your, taking notice of. Just quickly, what I want to say about all of this, guys, is when you consult academic sources, this is now something that comes into the picture. Because where we always said, internet sources or websites might be dodgy or might be questionable, look at academic articles. When you see an academic article published in an academic journal, there's a bit of a fail-safe. Yes, this is good. I can use it. But can you see the trend? Can you see where this is going? These articles that are retracted goes into academic publications. They look fine. They look good. So we, as academics, guys, we have that gatekeeping responsibility to make sure that what we see and what we read is legit and it does make sense. I'm not going to go through your marking now. I just want a quick last word from all of you. Let's start with the lady. Kate, what is your quick view on this? Do you find it shocking?
Yeah, I find it very shocking. I never thought that a published article would be having so much
Yes.
findings which are so wrong.
Yes. Organized crime has entered the world of academia, Kate. Can you believe it?
Yeah, I'm actually shocked.
Yeah, Brad, your take on this?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing obviously is how there's literally corruption on articles. I mean, it's something that you would never have thought would be a thing. But I mean, even additionally with my review of these articles, I mean, obviously we only had about half an hour, but
Yeah, it was
it's
not a lot of time.
yeah, it's pretty much opposites of what you mentioned. But obviously what you mentioned make complete sense. So a lot of the times, like I would see it as it being straightforward and clear what the abstract of the article is, but then I realized that obviously it's South Africa. Well, it's meant to be Durban, but then it's the whole of South Africa, and there was that whole or only eight SMEs, and then they had information from 62.5% of the population or of the country, and yeah, it's just those small things that
Those small
it-
clues, eh? That
yeah,
shows you that
those are
it is in
hectic.
fact flawed. So
Exactly.
in certain respects, I mean, especially Article B, it's not about really awarding a mark.
Mm,
It's almost going back a step and say, listen, can we mark this article? Can we even treat this article as a legitimate article? Or should we
yeah.
take a red pen and say, this is complete rubbish?
Mm.
It's not even worthwhile to assess. But I hear what you say. Thanks a lot, Brad. Cameron, final words from your side, and then I'm going to land the meeting. Yes, Cam, are you there?
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Excellent. Just saying, it's basically just that we must be more discerning as well, just in the articles and the stuff we actually include as well. Because going through those articles, we didn't necessarily pick up that there was big flaws in them, but it makes them possibly even redundant for our own arguments, using them as supporting work. Obviously, these are supposedly published authors that are being vetted correctly. So yeah, just to keep our eyes open from our side as well.
Yes, they were published in journals, and they went through all the processes of being reviewed, peer-reviewed, etc. So, guys, AI is gonna turn the world upside down as well. It's gonna completely change the academic world as we know it. And for your academic journey, for some of you, there's some more academic stuff in your future. Some of you might move on to the next NQF level, which can be a master's level qualification. For some of you, you might say, listen, I'm only going to do this qualification, and then we're going to focus on my career, guys. But what I wanna leave with you this evening is be very mindful and be very careful when it comes to academic sources. To say that again in a nutshell, there's a lot of nonsense and there's a lot of non-kosher activity happening in that space. Any questions other than that? We do connect next week. It's before your group assignment. We'll touch on that again. Thanks for the PAS date. I see that somewhere in June, so there's enough time for us to prep for PAS. And if there's nothing else, I'm going to let you guys go and say take care until next week.
Thank you, Doc.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Doc.
just basically worrying for the scene exam. It seems like a big hurdle to get over.
Yeah, so hopefully I want you guys also to keep an eye on when they publish the exam brief so that we can have a look at that. Sometimes there's issues or there's problems or uncertainties or ambiguities in the exam brief which we need to iron out then before that. But I'm going to give you guys a lot of guidance on how to tackle the exam. But in the meanwhile, or in the background, just keep your eyes open for any new stuff that lands, such as the updated pairs that was published now. All right, folks. Wishing you a great week. Speak next week.
Thanks, Doc.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye bye.
If you don't have homework.